Q3 RC, and today we are deciding one of the hardest decisions in the RC hobby. Should you upgrade your transmitter? Should you get one of the most expensive transmitters on the market? From $200 to $2,000. Transmitters are all over the place. They're mysterious, they're weird, they're the unknown. From a beginner getting into the hobby in 2024, I want to talk about my experiences from going from the Spektrum DX6E to now for my birthday picking up the Spektrum NX10. All right. I picked this up, it wasn't sent to me. Not that it would matter if it was sent to me, because I'm gonna give it to you straight no matter what, always. But before we hop into this, if this video helps out at all or you enjoy it, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Let's get into it. All right, starting off, price. The Spektrum DX6E was the transmitter I started with, and I got it on eBay, used, in like new condition, but at the time when I was ordering it, the condition was kind of unknown. The seller didn't know what it was. They picked it up at a garage sale, and I got it for $130. Good news was, it was all in good working order. I just had to get it deregistered, which I had to contact Spektrum. However, Spektrum made it pretty easy, and they deregistered it for me, so that way I could register it and then update it. Moving over to the NX10, I bought this brand spanking new for $550 off of Horizon Hobby. $550 is a lot to swallow, so here are some things that were cheaper than my new NX10. My 70mm f16, my OLED Nintendo Switch, my PlayStation 5. It's a digital edition. Okay, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, but I think you're starting to understand what I'm getting at. My freaking PS5 is cheaper than my transmitter? So what I'm saying here is this is expensive, as you know, and I don't know if that value is 100% there. These do seem to be a little overpriced when you start getting into these higher models. So let's start talking about some of the differences then. What's gonna justify this $400 price hike? Right away when it's in your hand, you can get a good feel of the difference. The DX6 comes in and it's real plasticky, and it feels like any transmitter that comes with like an RTF plane. This one has a really nice rubberized feel. It's a bit heavier and it does feel better in your hand. Oh, and I probably should have started with the obvious one. This one's 6 channels, this one's 10 channels. So that's giving you more options when you're programming your planes to these. Things like flaps, landing gear, air brakes, AS3X, safe. Those are all things that are gonna take up channels, so the more you have, generally the better. The NX10 is gonna have more options than my DX6E. Some small things like voice commands. I think some DX6s do have voice commands, mine doesn't. This one does not. The bind and fly model integration, which is actually pretty cool. So if I get any E-flite planes, they're all stored in this already, and all I have to do is go find the file for it, select it on the transmitter, boom, I'm ready to rock and roll. I don't need to do any programming. It's all predetermined and in there. That's pretty neat. Problem is, I don't actually have a ton of E-flite planes. Most of mine are like free wing and FMS. The NX10 has Wi-Fi capabilities, so I hooked this up to my internet and I was able to update my transmitter without having to plug it into my computer and do all that silly stuff. It's kind of nice, nothing crazy. It's 2024, and if you're paying that money, it's just expected at that point. The NX10 is supposed to have some better sticks. Now, honestly, I can notice a slight feel in them, but very minor. Overall, what I think it's supposed to do is they're just supposed to hold up longer and be better over time. Where these ones are a little bit cheaper, probably more likely to have some issues with them. Other than that, they do feel similar. NX10 comes with a battery pack, so you can just plug it in with the cable rather than needing 4 AA's. The DX6E is breaking my bank account because it kind of tears through 4 AA's a lot quicker than I expected. You can buy an upgraded battery pack, but you're getting some additional charges then. The NX10 has more switches in general. You have a little gain knob, you have some dials on the back, and then a lot of these were switched over to a 3-position switch, where this has 2-position switches. What I'm finding though is I don't need everything to be a 3-position switch. I was okay with some of them being 2 positions. I'm not gonna go into every single little detail. I'm telling you the things that I notice off the gate, because that's most likely what you're gonna notice off the gate. If you go through the 300-pound manual and read everything, yeah, you're probably gonna find some more minor differences that they use to justify why this is more expensive, and I'm sure there's some that are running in the background that do justify this a little bit, but I'm telling you those first impressions, what I'm noticing with it after I went out and flew with it compared to my DX6. A lot of this stuff, I'm not reading all this, I'm not going through all this, but the good news with that is it gives you room to grow. The DX6 I was starting to outgrow already, which I didn't think was gonna be the case, but it was. Oh, also the NX10 comes with a freaking sticker book of stickers. This is absurd. I don't know if $200 went to just the stickers, but I don't need this many NX10 stickers. I don't know if they wanted me to run a livery on my car for Spektrum NX10, but that's just, everyone likes free stickers, but I don't think these were free at this point. So is it really worth it? This is honestly really hard to come to a conclusion on because every single person's situation is different. Everyone's budget is different. What everyone flies is different. So unfortunately, I can't just make a blanket statement that's gonna work for everybody. So what I can do is tell you my personal reasonings for upgrading and see if any of those relate with you. I got into this hobby and I hit the ground running. I really fell in love with it, and I had a buddy of mine, Hangar 14, that was along my side and excelled my learning process as I got into it. That meant I was getting bigger planes a lot quicker. I started getting into EDFs because that's what I wanted to do. And these bigger 70mm, 80mm planes generally come with more features like I talked about in the beginning, like landing gear and flaps and all that good stuff. Well, in my planes, again, since I'm a little bit newer, I still like to have AS3X and safe. I think AS3X should be on any plane. Real planes use electronics to combat wind. I don't know why you wouldn't want it on your RC. Some people get super worked up about that stuff. I don't care, I'm telling you what I personally like. And having an oh crap switch has saved my ass more than once. So what I was running into with the DX6 was I have planes like my FMS Integral, aka the big tuna, that has flaps, landing gear, and all that stuff, and I have a receiver in it with AS3X and safe, but I wasn't able to program that on my DX6 because what I didn't know at the time was even though AS3X and safe doesn't plug into the receiver physically, it's built in, it still takes up one of those channels. But I really wanted flaps because I wanted to be able to slow this plane down to come in for a landing. Those EDFs come in hot, and anything you can do to allow the plane to fly a little bit slower so it doesn't stall out is gonna help you. So I opted for that, and I've been flying it without AS3X and safe. And I don't know about you guys, but I think flying a $300 plane with an $80 receiver and a $100 battery, it's nice to have a backup plan and not just freeballing it, even if it is kind of exciting and gives me a little bit of an adrenaline rush, all right? Know what I'm saying? Can I get some toast with that butter? Do you see that? That might be the best landing I've ever had. Now, I could have went with the NX8, and I believe they just released a newer version of that, and I think I would have been fine. But I also thought I'd be fine with the DX6, and I wasn't. Now, I think there are some people that could get away with using the DX6, and I want to say that. But I wanted to future-proof myself. There's a saying, buy once, cry once, and I think it does play a huge factor here. It is expensive, but now, in theory, I shouldn't have to upgrade my transmitter for years and years and years and years, and I would love if I could say forever, but you know how technology goes. Even though I feel like these are a little bit behind in the general scheme of things, stuff does upgrade, so I won't say forever, but it should last me a long time. My buddy Hangar 14 has a DX6. He's been flying on that for 10 years. He does want to upgrade, but again, it's that price factor that is just deterring him away. He can get the job done with the DX6, but the NX10 would be nice. So overall, hear me say this. I think these are overpriced, and that's just my opinion. However, you still see I went with them. I contribute this to like the Apple effect, right? I have an iPhone. I think iPhones are a bit overpriced too compared to like what Samsung and other companies are able to do. However, it is the operating systems that just work so good. They're smooth, they're integrated well with the planes and other things that are in the same brand lineup. And that just makes things simple. I do like the fact of getting something and just being able to use it without having to learn an absolute ton. And going from the DX6 to the NX10 was a breeze. Like, it feels the same, and there isn't like a huge learning curve to go over to this one if you're already on a Spektrum transmitter. Importing all my planes, I thought was gonna be a multiple day process, and it literally took me 30 minutes. I put an SD card in the DX6, I imported all models to the SD card, and then I exported them in my NX10 by plugging in the SD card, and then all I had to do was individually go to each plane and just rebind it, but all of my settings were there, and the only things that changed were some of my switches that were on a 2-position switch that are now on a 3-position. I had to go in there and change that slightly, but everything else worked. Nothing was reversed, nothing was weird. It kind of blew me away, and I actually went flying the same day that I got this transmitter, and I didn't think that was going to be a thing. And that's where I kind of see that price being justified, right? They do a good job. However, I think there are a lot of cheaper options on the market that can get the job done. So if you're looking for something more in your budget, I do encourage you to explore, do some research, watch some videos. I did that myself, and this is what I just ended up going with. And if you want me to be completely transparent, because I do want to be honest with you guys, I used the PayPal paid in 4 feature, which allowed me to pay this in 4 payments rather than doing it all at once, because I didn't want to drop half a grand on a transmitter right now, even if it was my birthday and it was my dirty 30, okay? But stay on the lookout. Spektrum does run sales, and when they do sales, they are pretty big. I'm kind of kicking myself because I think around Father's Day, they ran a Father's Day sale, and this thing was $150 off, I wanna say, give or take, don't quote me on that, but they do run sales on these. I just was in the time frame that I missed it, so keep an eye out, they do happen. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, I'm just trying to be transparent and show my case of getting into this hobby and my experiences so far. If you guys have suggestions, I love talking with you guys. I have learned all I've learned from friends in this hobby and from your guys' comments, so I appreciate you. If you're interested in checking out the NX10, I'll have a link down below so that way you can take a look at it and see if it fits your needs. But again, I encourage you to go look. There's a lot of transmitters out there. I just don't have experience with those, so I can't talk on them, and I don't want to just read off the Wikipedia article. If I can, I'd love to give you guys my actual experiences. So if you like this video, you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe. It helps push the channel. I'm so thankful for all the recent subscribers that have came in. We have more plane reviews coming, so let's get out there and let's sortie.